Welcome to Wichita Liberty TV with Bob Weeks.
Hello, I'm Bob Weeks for Wichita Liberty TV, your weekly source for news and commentary about Wichita and Kansas government and politics. We're broadcast on KGPT and its companion website, wichitachannels.com. Some of you may know me from my blog, The Voice for Liberty in Wichita. You can find that at wichitaliberty.org. The motto there, what I feel is important, is individual liberty, limited government, and free markets in Wichita and Kansas. So I mostly cover Wichita, Sedgwick County, and the state of Kansas. Although with some of the national events, it's hard sometimes to keep a focus on local things. But local government is very important, I believe. We've talked about that the past couple episodes. So I want to cover things that may not be covered by the Wichita Eagle or other television stations or radio stations. Or if we do cover the same news, I'll be doing it from the perspective of economic freedom, limited government, and individual liberty. So visit my website, The Voice for Liberty at wichitaliberty.org. You can find my email address there, or it's pretty easy to remember, bob.weeks@gmail.com. Well, today I'd like to talk to you about some problems we have at Wichita City Council and lots of areas of local government. Earlier this year, at a Wichita City Council meeting, Council Member Jeff Longwell, he's in District 5, which is west and northwest Wichita, he was critical of topics broached by a couple speakers. He admonished them to take a different approach to what they were talking about. These speakers, they were part of the Occupy Wichita group that's been around for a couple years. They had mentioned, speaking on the public agenda, about votes made and actions taken by the council and the appearance of influence or linkage to campaign contributions.
What I don't know is when this forum became popular to throw accusations out and make remarks about whether people are on the take or if you rub the right shoulders, you can get what you want. Give us facts, share your difference of opinion. We recognize that there's a First Amendment right, but I'm not sure this forum is the place to throw accusations out about individual council members. So would encourage folks to take a different approach.
Longwell's concern is understandable. As perhaps the most accomplished practitioner of cronyism on the Wichita City Council, he's dished out millions in taxpayer subsidy to his significant campaign contributors. His acceptance of campaign contributions last summer from a Michigan construction company that had business before the council lifted cronyism to new heights. After that, I thought we would never see a more blatant instance of the appearance of impropriety. That is, until Mayor Coral Brewer started selling his barbecue sauce at a movie theater he's voted to grant taxpayer subsidy to several times. These incidents are embarrassing for Wichita. So I can understand that Councilmember Longwell and Coral Brewer and the others don't want them mentioned in public. I'm sure that's what they would prefer. So that's why it's surprising that he would speak out at a city council meeting. Why call attention to your bad behavior? But I think I know the answer to that. It's really not possible to shame Jeff Longwell, Coral Brewer, James Clendenin, LaVonda Williams, and most other council members. They believe their conduct is honest, forthright, and above reproach. They also believe it is their critics who are harming the city's reputation by calling attention to their behavior. But in many cities, the routine practice of most Wichita City Council members would be a violation of the city's ethics code or even of city law. An example is from Westminster, Colorado. Its charter reads, "The acceptance or receipt by any counselor or member of that counselor's immediate family or an organization formed to support the candidacy of that counselor of anything of value in excess of $100 from any person, organization, or agent of such person or organization shall create a conflict of interest with regard to that counselor's vote on any issue or matter coming before the council involving a benefit to the contributing person, organization, or agent." So what does that mean? Well, that basically is pay to play. That if you accept campaign contributions or, let's say, other type of hospitality from somebody, you should not participate in decisions that will benefit them in a financial way. And the pay-to-play ordinance is not really called that in Westminster. That's really what's important. It's not the contribution itself, because we have free speech in America, and making political contributions is an important part of political speech. And it won't prevent, unfortunately, council members from voting to give their friends no-bid contracts and things like that. We just want to sever the linkage between the two. And I think that's very important. You know, even cities or states like New Jersey and Illinois have laws that are called pay-to-play laws, which prevent the type of behavior that seems to be pretty routine here in Wichita, Kansas. I don't think that there should be any problem in getting this type of ordinance passed. You know, the parties involved, the candidates and the contributors, they say these contributions are not intended to influence the candidate or the office holder. And if that's really the case, then the contributor shouldn't mind that the candidate can't participate or vote on any matter dealing with the contributor's interests. In addition, the candidate will not be placed in the position of appearing to favor someone who gave him or her a sizable contribution. And this is certainly possible if the candidate is truly independent, having to vote against a strong supporter. This is a win-win situation for everyone, as long as there was no intent to influence. Now, we don't have a law like this in Wichita. Don't even seem to have a code of ethics that covers something like this. It's something that we very much need to have. There have been efforts to try to get something like this started, but it's difficult in Wichita. You can run petitions to try to put laws on the books. We've seen that with a petition for fluoride last year. And you can also do things at the state level that way. Through the legislature, lobby them to get a law like that. But instead of having good laws that would prevent this type of pay-to-play, instead we have what Wichita's political class wants us to do, which is to follow Jeff Longwell's advice. Just don't talk about it. Let's take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue talking on this topic. This is Bob Weeks for Wichita Liberty TV. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Wichita Liberty TV. Earlier this year in January, candidates for Wichita City Council filed campaign finance reports, and these filings illustrate the need for campaign finance reform in Wichita and Kansas. Two incumbents, both who had already declared their intent to run in the spring elections, received campaign contributions in 2012 from two sources: a group of principals and executives of Key Construction, and another group associated with movie theater owner Bill Warren. The incumbent candidates receiving these contributions, they were Wichita City Council member James Clendenin, he's in District 3, Southeast and South Wichita, and Wichita City Council member LaVonna Williams, that's District 1, North and Northeast Wichita. Except for $1.57 in unitemized contributions to Clendenin, these two groups, Key and Warren, accounted for all contributions received by these two incumbents. Those associated with Key Construction gave a total of $7,000. Williams received $4,000 of that, and $3,000 went to Clendenin. Those associated with Warren gave $5,000, all to Clendenin. So do these two groups have an extraordinarily keen interest in Wichita city government that's not shared by everyone else? Yes, they do, and it's not benevolent. Both have benefited from the cronyism of the Wichita City Council, in particular the members they contributed to, LaVonna Williams and James Clendenin. Here's one example, and perhaps the worst. In August 2011, the City Council voted to award Key Construction a no-bid contract to build the parking garage that is part of the Ambassador Hotel project, now known as Block 1. The no-bid cost of the garage, remember that was the original intent of the City Council, was to be $6 million, according to a letter of intent that everyone agreed to, except for City Council member, now Kansas State Senator Michael O'Donnell. Later, though, due largely to O'Donnell's efforts, the city decided to place the contract for a competitive bid. And guess what? That bid came in quite a bit less. Matter of fact, $1.3 million less. So the price of the garage went from $6 million down to $4.7 million. You know who was the winning bidder? Key Construction, who was perfectly happy to build it for $6 million. And both Williams and Clendenin, who received many campaign contributions from Key Construction and their executives, voted for this no-bid contract that we now know was contrary to the interest of taxpayers. And they didn't just vote for that reluctantly, they embraced it. So last summer, Williams and Clendenin, along with the rest of the council, participated in a different decision to award the large contract for the construction of the Wichita Airport to Key Construction, despite the fact that Key was not the low bidder. The council was tasked to act in a quasi-judicial manner to make decisions whether discretion was abused or whether laws were improperly applied. They were acting like judges. And judges shouldn't preside over decisions that hugely enrich their significant campaign contributors. No matter what the merits of the case, this is bad government. Did Key's political involvement and campaign contributions play a role in the council awarding the company a no-bid garage contract and the airport contract? Key Construction executives and their spouses are among a small group who routinely make the maximum allowable campaigns to candidates. The candidates they contribute to are both liberal and conservative, which rebuts the presumption that these contributions are made for ideological reasons, that is, agreeing with the political positions of candidates. Instead, Key Construction and a few others are what we call political entrepreneurs. They seek to please politicians and bureaucrats, and by doing so, receive no-bid contracts and other benefits. This form of cronyism is harmful to Wichita taxpayers, as shown by the overpriced Ambassador Hotel garage contract. Bill Warren, the movie theater owner, he and his business partners have received largesse from the council too. In 2008, and that was before James Clendenin joined the council, the Wichita City Council approved a no and low interest loan to Bill Warren and his partners. The Wichita Eagle reported at the time, Wichita taxpayers will give up as much as $1.2 million if the City Council approves a $6 million loan to bail out the troubled Old Town Warren Theater this week. That's because the $6 million, which would pay off the theater's debt and make it the only fully digital movie theater in Kansas, would otherwise be invested and draw about 3% interest a year. So Wichita's need for campaign finance reform, well, these incidents that I just talked about that reinforce and spotlight the need for campaign finance reform in Wichita and Kansas. You know, when it's apparent that a pay-to-play environment exists at Wichita City Hall, well, that creates a toxic and corrosive political and business environment. Companies are reluctant to expand into areas where they don't have confidence in the integrity of local government. Will my company find myself bidding against a company that made a bigger campaign contribution than I did? If I don't make the right campaign contributions, will I get my zoning approved? Will my building permits be slow walked through the approval process? Will my projects face unwarranted and harsh inspections? Will my bids be subject to microscopic scrutiny? We need laws to prohibit Wichita City Council members from voting on or advocating for decisions that enrich their significant campaign contributors. Citizens have been working on this initiative on several fronts. Some find the actions of these candidates so distasteful and offensive that they're willing to take to the streets to gather thousands of signatures to force the Wichita City Council to act in a proper manner. This huge effort shouldn't be necessary. The politicians should realize it's bad government when there's the appearance of cronyism, and actual cronyism is even worse. These politicians should enact these laws themselves. And even if we're not able to enact a pay-to-play law, it doesn't prevent individual council members, county commissioners, school board members, state legislators from behaving as though these laws do in fact exist. Well, let's take a few moments off for another commercial break. We'll be back on Wichita Liberty TV. Well, welcome back to Wichita Liberty TV. You know, in Wichita, we've got a water shortage, at least they say that, and the city has just rolled out its plan for rebates for those who purchase water-saving appliances. There's going to be $1 million devoted to this, and if you were to purchase a low-flush toilet, water-saving clothes washer, dishwasher, and a few other things, you'll be eligible for up to $100 rebate. Well, so the city fathers, leaders, are telling us we're out of water, but you know, I was sniffing around on the city's website the other day. I found a document created in March 2013, earlier this year, right when we were in the middle of developing drought response plans. This document touts an expensive plan, an expensive investment that is part of a plan, I'm quoting, a plan to ensure that Wichita has the water it needs through the year 2050 and beyond. Again, this document was developed at the time the city warned that a major water source, Cheney Reservoir, might soon go dry. Yet, they're still saying we've got water until 2050. The project boasted of is the City of Wichita's Aquifer Storage and Recovery Program. Its cost so far for phases 1 and 2 is $247 million. That's right, nearly $250 million. 2 more phases are contemplated. But despite this investment, and despite the boasts made about the plan, Wichitans are currently being threatened with huge fines and for excessive water usage. The City Council is forcing citizens to spend $1 million so that other people may install low water usage appliances. And city decorative fountains were dry until this week in an effort to save water. That's right, we spent $3.5 million putting an elaborate fountain downtown, and we can't even turn it on during the city's River Festival. Well, now we're going to turn it on, but on a reduced schedule. So overall, the city's strategy to deal with the drought has been to force austerity and huge expense on those who live here. I know we can't plan rainfall and drought year by year. We do know, however, that over long periods of time, there will be both dry and wet years, and we need to have plans in place for both. But reading the document I talked about, titled Wichita Area Future Water Supply, a Model Program for Other Municipalities, again published just this spring, one might be led to believe that everything is fine water-wise. Here's a quote. In 1983, the Wichita City Council adopted an integrated local water supply plan that identified cost-effective water resources that would be adequate to meet Wichita's water supply needs through the year 2050. And this squares with what former mayor of Wichita, Bob Knight, recently told the Wichita Pachyderm Club, that when he was in office, he was told Wichita had sufficient water for the next 50 years. That was about 10 years ago, so up until 2050, that's just about right. So what went wrong? Can we believe the boasts made on behalf of the Aquifer Storage and Recharge Program? Do bureaucrats in charge of these programs believe what they've written? Let's try to get answers to these questions. Also this week, somewhat related matter, the President Obama released a series of executive orders that are designed to reduce carbon emissions, all in the name of saving the planet from global warming. Of course, then right away he took off on his giant jumbo jetliner to fly around Africa. But is there a problem with global warming? Well, there very well may be, but I think that we really need to realize that we just don't know. There's a chart that you can probably see on your screen right now that shows the predictions for global temperatures along with the black line, which is the actual observed temperatures. Over the last 15 or 17 years, temperatures are really unchanged, although the models, the climate models that people say, like President Obama say we should be looking at to figure out that what we need to do, they've been going up, yet the actual has not followed along that prediction. You know, global warming can be a serious problem. We really don't know, I think, yet. And even if it is a serious problem, it's a long-range problem that requires a long-range solution. I think we need to be very careful that we don't be rash and take quick action to fix a problem that we may not really understand totally. Well, in closing, I thought I'd take another moment to explain who am I, what do I do, why do I do it, what it is. I think those are about the main questions. Well, again, I'm Bob Weeks, and you know, my website, The Voice for Liberty in Wichita, is at wichitaliberty.org. And, you know, off and on, I've always been interested in news throughout my life, and I even served on the CPO in Wichita about 20 years ago. But, you know, throughout the years, I got involved with work and everything, and people oftentimes kind of fall out and forget about politics. But in 2004, Sedgwick County and the city of Wichita were considering a sales tax to pay for what we now know as the Interest Bank Arena in downtown Wichita. And I really got interested in that issue and more about government at that time. And I came to realize, unfortunately, that our present mainstream media, particularly the newspaper and television stations, I didn't think that they were covering the issue very well. Yeah, they could interview people, they could show the plans that were drawn up and things like that. But as far as covering the real hard issues of the public policy as to whether it's wise to tax people to build a indoor arena and things like that, I just really didn't see that the mainstream media had much appetite for that type of reporting. And so I got involved. And because I'd been a software engineer most of my life, kind of the natural outlet of expression for me was the computer and the internet. And that led to a website and a blog, The Voice for Liberty in Wichita, wichitaliberty.org. So what is it? Well, it's just a collection of articles that I've written and write almost every day. There's something new there almost every day. And I started a companion website called quicktakes.wichitaliberty.org. There's a link to it. That's where I post shorter pieces of things that mostly other people have written, or videos or things like that that I think are of interest, but it's not my own original material. Mostly you'll find that on wichitaliberty.org. You can, of course, visit the website anytime you like, or you can sign up for my email newsletter, usually about twice, sometimes 3 times a week. I'll send you an email. That simply contains a list of stories and little teasers, and you can click and read the stories that you like. And of course, it's easy to unsubscribe, and I promise not to spam you and send your or reveal your email addresses to other people. So that's me, Bob Weeks, and the Voice for Liberty in Wichita, wichita.liberty.org, now leading out and growing to encompass wichitaliberty.tv that you're watching right now. So thanks again for watching this week. Tune in next week. We'll do it again. Thank you.